I'm Ken Moran, and I'm one of this year's 8 Vision artists at the Attleboro Arts Museum. And we've been asked to record a short video about the work and stuff like that. Naturally, they would probably like us to talk about the work that we have hanging. But before I get there, I would like to speak a little bit about what I feel is art and art in general. First of all, I really kind of feel that anyone can make a piece of art, but it's the quality of the work naturally that is going to set you apart. All right. And then the artist's job really is to keep the viewer interested. So essentially, if you are making a piece of art and someone looks at it and goes on to the next piece within about 3 to 5 seconds, you really didn't do a good job. And that's where the idea of composition comes in. And by composition, I mean that you arrange pieces within the picture frame to keep the viewer interested, to keep them discovering new things and constantly looking at the picture. Now, after you've gotten that part down, it's what the picture really represents or the image represents and what it means is what's going to elevate you to a higher level. All right. And then I believe that the most successful pieces of work are a reflection of the time and the circumstances and what was going on in the world at the time. I read somewhere that uh, art happens in a context. So really, if you think about it, the great pieces of work that you look at are really a window into a past time that represents what was important and what was meaningful at that time. And when you think about it, also, the history of art is really the history of the world. Okay, so now I want to get to my series of symmetry and surrealism. And it really grew out of a sort of a fascination with the idea of asymmetrical and symmetrical work. Back in college, the art classes, they said that a balanced symmetry, having the same thing on both sides, was boring, but asymmetrical was not. So, I started to think about that, and I went back and looked at all my old photographs and tried to decide what was the one thing in each photograph that made a difference to me. The reason I took the photograph. So then, through the magic of Photoshop, I could isolate that, and then I could manipulate it. I could flip it. I could do all sorts of things, and start to put those repetition of images together, being all the same, to create sort of an asymmetrical balance. I would rotate them vertically and horizontally and that kind of stuff. So then I started to work on the idea of how far can I push that idea of taking just as small amount of original images as possible and creating this design. All right, so then I kept working on that, and then at some point I found the one-to-one relationship, that aspect ratio just suggests that it's balanced and it's symmetrical. So I started to just work on that, and that's the way all the pieces in this series have gone since then. So now. At some point during a project, any artist will probably say to themselves, well, why am I doing this? What does this mean? And when I look at it and I look at these pieces, I say to myself, well, as I get older, I want, I'm trying to get balance in my life. I think everybody wants to do that. And I want to make my life as simple as possible. And really, these photographs, these images that I've created are sort of an answer to those questions.